Hi folks. Hey, a couple of years ago I put a short video out about using a rounder. That is a tool to make your mugs re-rounded after you've attached handles. And I find it useful. I've been using it for many years. I never intended to make them for sale, but we've been asked over and over again, do you supply them? So every now and then I make a short run of these rounders. That's this thing. Now I've changed the design just a little bit. One, I flattened it on the top, so instead of pointed. So when you're using it, it'll stand like this, as opposed to roll around on your table. And I put a glazed surface on it. The glaze, I find, slides over a leather hard pot very easily compared to a bisque-fired one, which is what I was using for years. Bisque clay will stick to the clay. Bisque-fired rounder will stick to the clay. That I didn't want. So I tried one glazed and it worked really well. So this is how I make the rounder. You can make them in your studio. They're very easy to do. It's a closed form and shaped. A couple little details about it. One is I put a hole in the bottom of it. That gets, of course, as the pot shrinks, lets the air escape. I have a curve here at the side, which is useful when you're holding it. It doesn't slip out of your fingertips. It's a very simple, it's made with 14 ounces of clay. It's a very simple enclosed form. So this is how I make them. Now at this point, I actually put a rough hole down here, and then I'll clean it up from the back side, from the underside, when I'm trimming these off just a little bit. Now I'm going to pull up a pyramid and push in underneath. I have this little sponge on a stick, and I'm going to get all the water from the inside before I close it off. Do a little bit of smoothing with a rib, and now close this off. Now I want to make sure that this top flat area is not bowed upward, but actually is concave, so it sits flat on the work table. Undercut down below. Clean it up with a sponge. And wire it off. Now I don't have to worry about putting a hole in it because I already have one in the bottom. So overnight they're going to shrink a bit, and tomorrow I'll trim them just a little bit. Okay, we're ready to trim off the base and reshape this little alcove area here on the rounders that I threw yesterday. I made about 36 of them, and I let them dry uncovered overnight because I can get away with that in my shop and not have them be too stiff in the mornings. And we'll center this as best we can on a rather thick-walled chuck, or Charles as they call them in England. Now I'm centered this up, and I'm going to cut an alcove under here, kind of a concave space, so your fingertips will grab it as you're using the tool. Now I don't want to smudge this area of wiggle marks on the bottom, so I'm going to use a cap here Wrong tool. Dampen everything down and then use a rib to push the sand back into the clay, into the form. And when I threw these, I pushed a hole through the base when I was throwing them. So I'm going to carve that out a little bit and smooth it using a hole cutter. And soften that. And that's pretty much it. I usually put a stamp on them. And now I'm going to let them dry for about 4 or 5 days. Then we'll run them through the bisque kiln. They're not hard to make. Give it a shot.